What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got for you another part hunt video. We're getting back into the PC Tech Hustle roots, finding those parts out there, creating a good budget PC. I know it's been a little while since I've done some uploads, but I'm getting back into it. So I want to start off with a good one, being a $500 build that we're going to go out part hunt for, because that's what you guys asked for. And I want to make it a little bit more challenging for us to see if we can also get it to play Starfield. Let's go. Alrighty, like with all of our part hunt videos, we've got it zoomed in close because we're going to be working a lot with the screen, and the main thing being is we want to make sure we hit that $500 mark as our #1 requirement, but secondly, potentially get a good gaming experience to play Starfield because it's hot and popular. I enjoy the game, and I've looked at the minimum system requirements before, so we should be able to build at least a system around the minimum. I want to try to target somewhere in between so that way it's a good playable experience. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the requirements first from Bethesda. I'm sorry, I don't know really know how to pronounce it. Bethesda. Yeah, there we go. Got it. All right, we're here over on their support page to map out our system requirements that we're going to need to be using for this PC. And let's just quickly review that so we got a really good idea of what kind of parts to actually go after. Main thing here is the processor, Ryzen 5 2600X. That's a pretty dated processor. The same thing with this i7, which goes even further back. That at least tells me that we can probably find a pretty decent CPU that we can handle the game with. 16 gigs of memory, that's pretty standard for pretty much all games out there these days. Probably would benefit with 32 gigs, but you can definitely get by with 16. Main thing here I want to focus that's really going to put a knife into our budget, and that being the graphics card. So right here it's showing that we've got to at least have an RX 5700, which I think is a pretty good middle ground card, and those can probably be found for pretty cheap. Same thing with the 1070 on the NVIDIA option, and the rest is just kind of, you know, whatever. Recommending to have 125 gigs of free space. That is pretty sizable, so we don't want to sell ourselves short in the SSD department, hard drive department. 1 terabyte would be beautiful, but we'll see where the budget lies. We can definitely get those pretty cheap these days, but probably going to stick around the 512 gig mark. So let's go to the recommended here. That's where I really want to see like where I need to fall within the minimum and the recommended. So right here, we're going to go right to the processor, recommending a Ryzen 5 3600X. So that's pretty middle road for that generation. 6 cores, 12 threads, and then also or recommending an Intel i5 10600. That's jumping up in the Intel department. I think also that would be a pretty good CPU. We'll take a look, but those will be definitely more expensive to find than the previous older generation ones that we looked at earlier. And then the main thing that's really going to drive a big knife into our budget, that being the graphics card. On the Radeon side or AMD side, is recommending a 6800 XT or a RTX 2080. So still going to be pretty tough, I think, to fit a $500 budget if we went with those GPUs. We will see ultimately, but I have a feeling we might have to take a step down just ever so slightly to really work within our budget. Okay, so I've got the system requirements over on this monitor, so that way we can have as reference while we build on the main screen, which is now PC part picker for building out the system. Alrighty, while we are here on the CPU menu, I do see some pretty decent options kind of just standing out right in front of me. The thing I worry about is going with some older CPU that, if we are referencing PC part picker, they're just not going to be able to be found for a good price. But let's just, for the sake of looking, let's just see what it will cost to get in. I really want to try to fall on at least that Ryzen 5 3600, because I think there might be some that could still be out there. The Ryzen 5 2600 is definitely not going to be found, but yeah, let's just actually see. I'm just curious. Yeah, $165 for I think the Ryzen 5 2600. We're approaching 5 to 6, maybe even 7 years old at this point. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense to buy that new, no matter where you get it from. What about the 3600? Look at that. Yeah. Although it does recommend a 3600X, which this is why these videos are of value, I hope for you guys, is look at the price range difference between the two. We can actually pick up a Ryzen 5 3600 for $92 versus the Ryzen 5 3600X, which again is an older CPU at this point, for way more money. Obviously that's an inflated price for availability reasons, but the difference, and I think I've covered this in videos before, the difference in that model of CPU isn't worth it to really go with the X model. You're only really gaining a little bit extra clock speed on the boosts and normal operating frequencies. It just isn't worth the money. And I'm gonna pencil in that 3600 because that's a pretty good starting CPU. But before I do, let's just take a look at what it costs to maybe get a 10600. I'm a little wary of that, but let's just see. Ooh, yeah. I mean, it does recommend a 10600K on the recommended list. That is a lot more expensive. We're working with CPUs that are older, so let's bump it up into the range of what is more modern. So with a Ryzen 5 5600, so let's go 5600. Yeah, the only one that kind of comes close to the 3600 is a 5600G, which it's good for APU performance, but it's not terribly good for what we're trying to do, is build a full gaming system with the GPU. So, and then yeah, 5600X and the 5600 still coming in quite a bit over. I mean, going with the latest generation Ryzen isn't going to be affordable, but let's just see, 7600, yeah, just blows it. So we can't go latest gen, that's for sure, and that's gonna remain true on the AMD and Intel side of things. But let's look at what's maybe a 12500 or 12400. Yeah, let's do a 12400. Trying to find something that's comparable to that 3600. The 12400 is more modern in comparison, but $50 more. That's pretty tough. Yeah, and I think if we go up to 13th gen, which is current, yeah, no way. Let's go maybe 10400 instead of the 10600. 3600 probably outperforms the 10400. I believe the 10400, yeah, 6 core count, lower core frequency. I believe this doesn't have any like E cores or whatever. It's just straight 6 core 12 threads. Let me fact check myself on that. Yes, I am correct on that. So it's just straight 6 cores 12 threads, which isn't bad considerably. Frequency is 4.4 gigahertz max turbo frequency, but the core frequency, base frequency, is the thing I'd be concerned about with that. The 3600 is gonna beat it for sure, even though it's a little bit less modern. We're penciling this in for now because we might be able to go find more performance on the used markets, but ideally you want to buy something that is new if we can. That way, you know, you guys, if you're taking after this as a part list to build after, that you have those assurances that you've got some brand new parts. So let's pencil this guy in, 3600. And here's the cool thing too, we don't need a CPU cooler because that will come with it. Next, on the motherboard, we can step it up to like a B550 technically because it will support that CPU. This is going to come down to what's better value, the B450 or B550 at this point. So I'm just going to go straight B450 because I'm trying to save as much money as possible for that GPU. Let's see what we got. I mean, that's not bad. That's super cheap. Next one down, we've got MSI B450 Pro VDH Max for $74. I've used this board before. Nothing bad. It's, you know, pretty budget. You're not going to get a whole lot of features out of it, but we're really after just one thing, building a budget PC that can play Starfield. So this is possibly a good option. Where's my tried and true Gigabyte? Now, one thing I like about that, here we go. My tried and true still is probably one of the best. The thing I really like about this, we're spending like a few more dollars to get Wi-Fi. We've got 4 DIMM slots. This motherboard just is my best recommended motherboard. I mean, you guys have seen me use it time and time again, and it comes in at a great price. Now, I want to see what the B550s get us, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be more expensive, but I just want to see kind of what the bottom end range of a B550 is. Pretty close, even if we went with a Gigabyte board, although that one does not have Wi-Fi, and it's jumping up quite quickly. Where is the Wi-Fi version? I think, is there even one? Yeah, B550 DS3 AC. This one is $30 more expensive. Obviously a better motherboard, but at the same time, it's not worth it for us to spend an additional $30 to really not get a whole lot more other than just an improved chipset. So we're gonna go back down to that B450 and call it a day. All right, we are streaming right along rather quickly. Moving on into memory, which is going to be a field that's delightful that it is right now because it's cheap. So we are only gonna need 16 gigs. Let's see what we got here. Okay, here's our first 3600 kit. I've used this before, Silicon Power, 16 gig, 3600 megahertz, CAS latency 18 for a whopping $33.97. Can't beat that. It doesn't really look like a whole lot to look at. Let's see if we can improve the aesthetic just a little bit by getting some better looking RAM, but I'm perfectly fine with going with this so long as we don't bust the budget too much more by getting something that looks a little bit better. Okay, so how about this? These G-Scale Ripjaws for just $1 more. These are really good looking RAM modules, full heat spreader on it. Those Silicon Power ones were they're kind of meh. they're fine, but we don't need the dollar there. I mean, honestly, we don't. And yeah, a very reputable brand. So is Silicon Power. I want these just because they look a little bit better and only cost $1 more. And we're hitting all of our requirements, being 3600 megahertz, cast latency 18. Let's go. On to storage, another area that's going to be super cheap, but where are we at right now on the current price of the PC? $207. So we still got a lot to get. Let's move on down the list here and find us a SSD that'll do the job. And we want NVMe, so let me put in some filters here. 1 terabyte would be super nice, obviously for the extra budget in our capacity, but that all remains to be seen. Let's just see. I am seeing right up here, we've got the Team Group MP33 for, wow, this, I feel like this is just getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. $23.99. That's awesome. So I'm just kind of curious, what's the cheapest 1 terabyte drive we can find here? MSI, I've never heard of this drive. MSI is not really known to make hard drives. Let's go down a little further, find us a 1 terabyte. Okay, here's the Team Group 1 terabyte. It coming in at $37.99. So that is a pretty significant jump, although not in full terms of money. You know, $14 isn't a whole lot of money, but at the same time, that's a significant jump for hard drive space that we might have to save that money on if we cannot find a good GPU to pair with a power supply, because we still got to get GPU, power supply, and a case. So I'm gonna pencil in the 512 gig for now, just to save us some extra bucks. Let's add that in. All right, so video card, case, power supply is all we got left, and that's where it's just things are gonna go nutty. Cases have been weird in recent days. Hopefully they've normalized a little. I mean, hopefully all of this is normalized, right? But I don't think we're gonna be able to find a video card that's on the recommended list that is going to be cheap. 2080s are, you know, 2 generations ago. So we're only going to be able to find used on those that make sense. 6800 XT probably can find brand new. However, I have a feeling it's going to cost a lot of money, and that will just basically blow us out of the water in terms of budget. Now, can we find that card on the used market? Possibly, but that's probably where we need to tone it down a little bit. Yeah, we might as well tackle the hard elephant in the room, right? Let's go see if we can find ourselves a video card that we need to spend basically we need to spend no more than like $150 on at this point, because we need some money for a power supply and case still. Now, just to have some fun with it, we're gonna just look at what the current market values are for 6800 XTs, but I have a feeling we're going to be very disappointed. Oh my goodness, that is the cheapest one, is $500. I mean, it is pretty up there in terms of its potency, in terms of a graphics card, but I was expecting less than that. Well, I guess that settles that. We're not gonna go with a 6800 XT brand new, that's for sure. What about just a normal 6800? Just kind of curious. Ooh, yeah, they're still up there. 420 at the lowest, which obviously isn't going to work. All right, let's look at 6700. Now we're talking a little bit better, but even still, 6700 is going to, yeah, it's gonna be tough. All right, so guys, it's really looking like we're gonna definitely have to take to the used market to find something to reach our budget. And just for the sake of showing you, just to show that I've actually looked at NVIDIA, we've got it up on the screen, and a 3060 Ti, which is basically about comparable to a 6700 XT, give or take, is going for nearly $100 more, and is honestly not gonna work out for us, obviously, in terms of the budget. That is the NVIDIA tax for you, plain and simple, and it's probably there to stay no matter what. So we're gonna have to take to the used market. Let's hop over to eBay. First, I just want to see, because eBay is such a wider spectrum of trying to find hardware, and if we found something that might kind of work with us, maybe we can shave off some dollars by going to Jawball, etc. But let's see what eBay's got to offer. So I'm pretty confident that a 2080 might possibly be cheaper on eBay versus a 6700 XT, just because the 2080 is a little older. So let's take a look at that and see what happens. All right, so we got RTX 2080 in our search. Buy it now prices, sorting from price plus shipping, lowest first. I mean, this is good prices for these cards. The 2080 is still a heck of a gaming card. I just don't know if this is really going to fit in our budget. $225. If we go back to what we're looking at in terms of what we have here on the PC part picker list, yeah, $250 is basically going to blow us straight out of the budget, because we still got to get case and power supply. So we need something at around, like I said earlier, 150 bucks or so. So looking like 2080 is just not going to work out. That would have been nice. What about, heck, let's step it down to 2070. That's still a pretty solid card, 8 gig card. This is looking more reasonable. So we got an Asus NVIDIA card. Only one picture. I don't typically like to see just one picture. Okay, it's not a stock photo, at least. Oh, it's a 2070 Super. Okay, that's a super deal. Let's keep this in mind. I'm just going to duplicate my tab here. So that one was for $165 plus $7 shipping. So we're looking at right at about $170, which if we factor in the price here, let's just pull up a calculator real fast. So we're sitting at $402 if we go with an RTX 2070 Super from eBay for $165. So that, though, means we need to find a case and power supply for under $100. That's going to be stretching it. I really want to knock this down to, say, $140, $150 total invested. Let's go over to the AMD side of things. RX 5700. Let's just go with XT model just to see. Sapphire Pulse? What, really? Okay, this is a Sapphire card. We have some good pictures. Looks like it's unmolested as far as being opened, looking good. Looking for some corrosion or anything like that. This thing's been mined on before. Things you want to look for in that is you want to look kind of deep at the heat sinks. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. This looks like a pretty solid card. So $120 flat even. Dang, that's shipping. So we're looking at like $135. That's gonna really help us out. Let's see here. What's the description say? Sapphire Pulse 5700 XT, blah, blah, blah. Some GPU brown box used cards tested in good condition. Overclock, some may be shipped in brown GPU box pictured. Brown box, what does that even mean? Oh. So, okay, I don't care what kind of box it comes in as long as it works. Okay, so item has been used previously. This item has some signs of cosmetic wear, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty common. And we got some seller feedback. Cool. Guys, I think we found our card, honestly. 5700 XT for $120. Just to get some comparison points here, that puts us a little bit above the minimum requirement. Obviously, quite a bit below the recommended. We know we weren't going to hit the recommended anyway, but let's go to gpubenchmark.com just to see. Now, this website is good in terms of just getting a very basic idea. I like to use it in terms of knowing where I'm at. So we're going to compare an alternative here. Let's just look at how far it off is from the 6800 XT. 6800 XT blows away. Not as bad as I thought. So the thing you want to look for here is gives you some titles to compare against, blah, blah, blah. And the effective speed. So, I mean, it says it's about 74% faster. Take that with a grain of salt. But then it also says it's about 29% faster in terms of average FPS. Again, take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, we're talking about a pretty significant difference. We just simply can't get that type of performance with a budget that we're working within. But let's take a look at 2080, because I think this is going to look slightly more the same. We're just regular 2080. There we go. So the 2080 does slightly outperform the 5700 XT, but the difference here is, like I said, we're trying to slot in that middle of recommended and minimum specs. So I want to go with this. I don't think we're going to find anything much better. I feel like this is a killer deal for this $120 5700 XT. But to feel things out completely, let's take a look at Jawa. I'm kind of curious to see if there's any smoking red hot deals there, but we'll see. We'll see. I do like Jawa, but there just isn't enough known about Jawa, I think, just yet. I feel like it's still kind of niche. People who know about it are just only PC people, whereas with like eBay, you might just be a gamer that had a video card and you're just going to go sell it. So the first thing you think of is eBay, and you may not have any idea what Jawa is, but still good to search it out because there's always good deals on Jawa. All right, let's just look for an RX 5700 XT again. Well, here we go. This is very close, although this thing is gigantic. I don't really want a 3-fan card just because I'm probably going to be working within like a micro ATX case. This is a very good deal though. Honestly, probably a better deal just because it's got a better cooler. So pretty solid card there. Definitely a recommended buy for sure. $140 for this one, which is a gigabyte card. Again, another 3-fan card. So yeah, I think I found what I want, guys. I think I found what I want. This doesn't look like there's really anything beating this card. And honestly, I'm going to buy this sucker right now. We're looking at about $120 to $100, maybe $50 on the high end for an XFX card, which is exactly where we needed to be in terms of budget to actually have enough money to buy the 2 remaining parts, being the power supply and CPU. So let's take a look at that. I've penciled in the $131 that it would take to buy that Sapphire card that we found on eBay. $131, that's accounting for the $11 of shipping, so that way we have a realistic price. So $362 total here for the current budget, and that means we've got about a little under $140 to find case and power supplies. So let's get after it. So let's put our maximum price on case. We'll say $100. We're not going to spend that much because that would leave us really nothing left. Moving on down the list, but these are kind of cheap. I'd rather kind of like a mid or micro ATX case just because it would fill out the build size well. We're going with a micro ATX board. Okay, the Deep Cool CH370. That's a pretty solid case. I do like this because I've got direct experience working with the Zax Tech Turf Icebreaker build. So I know this is a really good quality case for the price. What was it again? I think it was like 70 bucks. Oh, 63 from Amazon. That's very enticing. Let's see, I don't really want to spend much more than that. And I know that case is pretty of quality. Now with that video card, it did have some like red accents. And let's take a look here. So what is visible? Yeah, so there's some kind of red and gray accents. A white case isn't going to be amazing for that. All right, guys, I got an idea. And somehow I passed over this one. So the Deep Cool case I was talking about earlier does come in black. And the graphics card has some black and red accents on it. Since we look like we might be saving some money here, maybe I'll have enough for some like Asia Horse cable extensions. Regardless, I think I'll still buy it just because, but hopefully we can fit it into the budget. But I know this case is really good quality, and man, the price is so good right now. It's actually $1 cheaper for the black case. I think the white one was $63.99. This one's $62.99. I'm gonna go with this. I think it's a really good case to get. We're not gonna be producing crazy amounts of heat. I think we will be in a very good position to get this. We're adding it to the part list. So where do we sit? $425.95 to find power supply that's of good quality, and potentially if we can save some bucks in that, we can also get some aesthetic upgrades like some cable extensions like I was talking about. So let's see, let's go to power supply next. And I think I'm gonna just do the same exact thing. I don't really want to spend any more than like $70 on the high end. So I'm gonna put my range of filters here between like $40 and like $90 and just see what we can find here. Power supplies are very tough right now. So what about this Corsair VS600? I'm not sure where that falls on the power supply ranking list. Man, they are going up fast in terms of price. There's a 500 watt BR. I think I need a little more juice with an RX 5700 XT. So I'm kind of interested about this Corsair V. Oh, that looks cheap. That's probably junk. It's non-modular. Let's see what else. I'll leave that potentially there. BP. Oh yeah, is the BP model power supplies the decent ones? Let me take a look. So this is a 650 watt EVGA BP. Let me bring up the power supply list, tier list. Yeah, BP, EVGA, where's this fall? Tier C. Yeah, okay, so tier C power supply. That's good enough. And man, we're edging on budget too. This one's $75. Ugh. Power supply market really sucks right now, but this is a good buy. And we've got a tier C power supply. All right, so we'll add that. I think that, yeah, that puts us right on budget. $500.94. I was really hoping to have some money in the budget for some aesthetic upgrades, like some Asia Horse cable extensions, or potentially spend another, what was it, like $15 more to get a 1 terabyte hard drive. Sure, that puts you, I mean, that, I guess that's where it's up to you. So, I mean, you get $500 spent, and really, I think to really make this PC pop, which I might just go ahead and end up doing, you know, aside from, you know, maybe break the budget a little bit just so I can have some better resale of this PC, but throw in some Asia Horse cable extensions, maybe upgrade to 1 terabyte. I'd probably leave it at a 512 gig, honestly. You're looking at maybe taking this PC from kind of pretty good to great, spend another, I don't know, anywhere between $25 to $50 more for some aesthetic upgrades, better hard drive, and you're set. But we've hit the $500 mark. Sorry guys, I know the poll said the maximum being $499, but it's pretty tough right now. Power supplies are honestly the hardest factor at this point. If I had $600 to spend, you know, this PC would look very different, but here it is guys. We got a $500 PC basically part hunted down. I think this is going to be a killer rig, honestly, and I think it's going to play Starfield pretty well. But stay tuned for the next upcoming content where we're going to put this PC together in a live stream, ultimately test it in a follow-up video to see how well it plays Starfield, maybe some other titles. But I'm pretty excited to get these parts ordered, and I better order them quick because it seems like some things are a little bit volatile in the market. Thanks for tuning into this one though, guys. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you in the next one.